Story 1. 15 months NC and back to square one. Hi, apologies if this is a long post. There is a lot to pack in for context, however I'll try to keep it as brief as possible. As a male, I have very little outlets for these kinds of things, so appreciate any impartial feedback that can be provided or experienced with a similar situation. Me 34 broke up with my GF of 3 years approximately 15 months ago. Since then, we have gone strict no contact, blocked on everything, so no way to even know each other's well-being. We also don't share any mutual friends, so it's as comprehensive as it could be. We met originally at work, and after a longish period working together and becoming very close friends, we inevitably grew feelings for each other. Shortly after the final breakup, we had broken up for some small periods in the past but ended up back together. I knew this one was different. Post this final breakup, I had done some research into what I saw as quite strange behavior throughout the relationship, which struggled to make sense, along with anyone I had comforted in during this period. Without internet diagnosing someone, I am confident she has some form of BPD. Throughout the relationship, I would constantly be accused of lying or cheating on her, which I was sure was some kind of projection, as I've never had these kind of trust issues with anyone in the past. She also had extreme fear of abandonment, which probably led me to pandering to things I otherwise should have not. But I really wanted her to feel safe. Throughout the relationship, her behavior became more controlling. I was allowed no female friends, despite all her friends being strictly males, many of which, if not all, I did not trust, and voiced many times that I was not comfortable with this, but obviously that boundary was ignored. Towards the end, I was being accused of leering at other girls when out with her, which was completely untrue and borderline unable to even speak to another female, such as a waiter, without being met with confrontation. This led to feelings of walking on eggshells around her, which sounds crazy for me to say as I'm a strong character, but did it as I truly loved her. But also I now know I have an avoidant attachment style, which also lead me to pander to this to some extent. I had deleted social media for her on request, and in turn made her delete Snapchat. I had re-downloaded this briefly at one point for non-nefarious reasons, as I have friends on there I otherwise have no contact with. I understand this was a breach of trust and probably added to her trust issues, but then I also found out she had Snapchat back, which unsurprisingly is full of males, including exes and people she had dated, one of the many double standards in the relationship. This led to a brief breakup in the relationship, which is important later in the story. An ex had contacted me at Xmas during this period of breakup, which we chatted briefly, but I was not interested in her, so this consisted of not much more than a Merry Christmas. During this period, my ex was abroad, back on Snapchat, posting provocative pictures of herself and dating other people. I hadn't even thought about that, as I really just wanted to get back with her during this period. After a month or so, we were back together, but not much had changed. Not long after being back together, I found an STD kit she had ordered, which she later claimed she just done because her friends were doing one. Honestly, this might be the dumbest thing I've ever believed. I'd laugh at it now if it didn't make me want to cry. Also, she had skis at her flat belonging to a man we both used to work with, who she had kissed in the past, and I made clear I didn't want her having contact with. The final straw was she woke me up in the middle of the night after having a dream that I was cheating on her, and she requested to look through my phone, which I allowed as I had nothing to hide. She found my ex's number in there, which I forgot I had, which came from that brief conversation we had at Xmas. Although I understand why this may have looked different, this name stood out given she had already deleted all girls' numbers in my phone, including friends, spouses, and family. I later requested to look through her phone, which she was very cagey about, and any time I would get close to something she didn't want me to see, she would grab it back. Amongst hundreds of messages from men, but I had seen enough in male group chats where they were more than inappropriate. What I had failed to mention is that during our entire 3-year relationship, she never mentioned to any of her family and all but maybe 4 friends that we were dating, despite me knowing her sister outside of our relationship from the same workplace. I had introduced her to all of mine, including my parents, something I always hated, as I know some males won't respect boundaries, especially if they think she is single. Fast forward 15 months and my suspicions were right. I spent over a year trying to reconcile all these inconsistencies. I found her Reddit profile and post openly discussing this, along with other lies of omission. Some of this too personal to discuss, but really hurt me that she never discussed these with me. This has sent me back 15 months into what feels like square one. I'm not eating and feel physically sick. Despite all the negative I may appear to have posted here, she really is an amazing person. Beautiful, kind, caring, intelligent, and funny. I still have strong feelings for her despite the above and all this time in no contact. I thought after all this time that would fade, but it hasn't. She might be the most unique person I've ever met, and many of the happiest moments of my life she is directly responsible for, and I can't help but feel life would be better with her in it, even just as a friendship. Are we too toxic for each other to be in our lives? But I feel responsible for her well-being, and I still worry about her daily. The level of no contact we have feels more like mourning a death than a breakup. But maybe I am being selfish, and this is what she needs to heal. It feels to me like if you could talk to a loved one who had passed one last time, would you? There are two sides to every story, and the truth is usually somewhere in the middle. But this is mine. I'd like to know your thoughts on whether breaking no contact is a good or healthy idea given the context. And if not, any ideas of the best route psychologically for me forward. I'm not sure time will change much. Reader comment, man, have some self-respect. I'm saying this from a place of caring, I promise. Everyone's situation is different. But this woman has shown you time and time again that you aren't her priority. Oh, I'm sure every once in a blue moon you feel it. That's what keeps you holding on. Maybe she does love me. If I only try to be a better man, she'll finally realize what she has. No. You are doing well after 15 months of no contact, right? Your mental state was getting better. You had some more confidence. You were happy. Guess what? You find her Reddit stuff is akin to a 15-month sober man taking a hit of heroin. Get away from her, man. Start your journey back to the guy you were a few weeks ago. Read no more Mr. Nice Guy. Not all of it will apply to you, but I bet some of it will. It will help you learn your tendencies to seek that validation from your GF. Finally, as a man, it's so hard to go through this. We all know what you're feeling as we felt it and still feel it today. Listen to me when I tell you this: your worth as a man, as a person, is not linked to your ability to care for and love this woman. You are so much more than that. Be strong, cut her off again, and get back to being the person you truly want to be. Original poster. No, I appreciate it, and sometimes that's why the forums are useful, as people close to you just tell you what you want to hear. It's difficult to convey who you are on here, but I assure you the book isn't required. It certainly isn't a validation thing, but I agree with what you say. I think it was a mistake looking that up. Sometimes it's better not to know, especially if they no longer care for you. I just find it odd that after this time I still care, as typically that's not aligned to my personality. Reader comment, it does not sound like there's really a modicum of mutual trust in your all's relationship with one another. Personally, I say it's time to move on and acknowledge this is not a relationship that, even if you reconciled, would not be healthy long term. Original poster, I think I'd say the same thing if I was given third-party advice too. And maybe an intimate relationship would be difficult for us and we'd revert to old ways. But do you not think it would be possible to have a friendship that may help heal wounds on both sides? If you truly care about someone, is it really best to never acknowledge their existence again? The difficulty is knowing whether this would set them back on their healing path. Or better at two. Should I even want this? I'd like someone experience if this has ever worked or had a positive result for them. Or do I literally mourn this as a death and accept the only person I've ever loved I'll never see or speak to again? Reader comment, wishing you the best of luck. I would just remind yourself you need to keep moving forward and doing things that get you there instead of looking back. Counseling, therapy might help you figure out how to do that more fully. Original poster, yeah, I think you're right. Despite how this post may come across, I very much do have my life in order. Have a nice house, car, good job, and I'm shape and never had a problem attracting girls. This just felt different, you know. Story 2. My wife cheated. We have been married nearly 4 years and together for nearly 8. We have a 1-year-old daughter. Together, our relationship was becoming distant, and my wife stopped sharing things with me and would never initiate physical contact. I think I first noticed this about 12 months ago. I thought it was down to stress, and she has a tough time with the baby, postnatal depression, and medication. I did talk to her and raised my concerns, and she said she would work on our communication. It got fractionally better for a while, and got worse again. At this point, I felt I didn't have anyone to go to other than my wife, and I didn't discuss it with anyone else at all. I brought it up again, however this time it was in more of an argument, and it ended the same as before. I had noticed that my wife was becoming more absent and detached from the relationship, and I asked her if she still wanted to be in it, and she said she loved me and did want to remain. In our discussions and arguments, she stonewalled me. This had been the case for a while. In the past month or so I have had niggling feelings that something might have been going on. This was mainly based on my intuition rather than anything else. I was considering unlocking her phone, following her, or putting a tracker on her car, but I decided not to, as it was an invasion of her privacy, and essentially wrong. Then I saw a message on my wife's phone asking if she was free for a call. It was from her male best friend. I was with her the rest of the evening, and she didn't make any calls. I then realized that this was probably a regular occurrence and that she was hiding it from me. I then decided to take action. I unlocked her phone and could see that there were lots of messages from this guy. There were also regular phone calls for weeks that I had no knowledge. I didn't have time to read them really, but I knew something was up. I then took her phone and copied the messages and sent to myself so I could check them in detail. I felt really guilty with this, and it took me a few attempts before I could actually go through with it as I felt like it was wrong. The messages were clearly very flirty, and it was a clear emotional affair. But there were parts which were on Snapchat and also parts which had clearly been deleted. With the information I decided to confront my wife. She admitted it was inappropriate but said it was just good friends and that there was no romance. I asked her if it was anything more, if there were any photo exchanges or physical encounters. I told her to look up what an emotional affair was, and she conceded that it was inappropriate. I asked her again if there was anything more and she said no. She didn't know that I had seen her messages on her phone. I asked if I could look, and she said if I wanted to, but there might be hurtful things about me on there. So we left it at that, and I said if she wants it to work, she has to be honest and tell me if there is anything else. I left it a couple of days and spoke to her. She said that she had contacted the guy and said they couldn't talk anymore and to have no contact for a while. I asked her why she didn't speak to me about this first, and she said because she thought I needed space. I said, do you not think I might have wanted to be involved in that and that I might not want her to speak to him ever? She said she thought I might say that. I then reiterated how if there is any chance of reconciliation, I needed her to be honest, and she said she was. I then said that I wanted to look at her phone. I went through and showed her messages and grilled her. She admitted to sending suggestive photos on Snapchat but said she sent nothing more explicit, and that there had been no physical sexual contact. I then showed her more messages and grilled her more, and she admitted to having sex with this man. She said it was just once. I asked her to be honest and she said she was. I then showed her more messages on her own phone and she admitted to sending explicit pictures and to touching herself on Snapchat with him. She still said she only met him for sex once. After some more interrogation, she admitted to a second time and that they had planned to another time, but he got too drunk. The most recent time they had sex was very recently, and my wife assured me that she had used a condom. However, before this we also found out that we were pregnant. I say we. The condition date according to the pregnancy test puts the conception near to the date she had sex with this guy. I obviously have found this very difficult, and so had she. It's probably worse for her at the moment. I'm currently handling it quite well considering. I am not sure what the future holds, and I have no idea how to manage it. We are going to speak with a professional, and I have had thoughts about getting a paternity test for my existing daughter, who I love with all my heart, and I hate myself for even considering taking this action. I also have considered a prenatal paternity test, although whatever the result I would still intend to support my wife, as I don't want any risk or negative effect to come to my daughter. This is making me feel very anxious at potentially wasting a year or so of my life. I want to be open to repair and build a new relationship with my wife, but I also know I deserve better. I know a marriage is about making the other person the best they can, and I do try to do this and still want my wife to thrive and heal whatever we do, and despite what had happened, I do still love her. The main reason I would like to see if it can work is for my daughter, but I understand that even if we both genuinely try, it might not. I know this is a long message, and thank you to anyone reading and offering any constructive comments or wishes. Reader comment: was there any remorse? Original poster: yes, significant regret mixed with self-pity and a touch of potential remorse. The initial dialogue was, I don't want to lose you. I feel alone. I don't have anyone to turn to, etc. I appreciate that she had issues with being self-centered, hence the affair, and I understand that affair fog can cloud. I am waiting to see more remorse, or if she continues to just focus on how this is making her sad. I have pointed out how her use of language makes it clear she isn't particularly bothered about my feelings, which maybe I should have held back to see if she came round to that herself. We will have to see. Reader comment: I highly suggest for you both to get into individual counseling and see a couples counselor. Therapy has helped me realize a lot of things and helps clear away the fog. Original poster: WS is organizing IC for herself prior to us doing MC. Story 3. Update on my state. Divorce. Hello. I copied and pasted my original thread that I posted in the divorce subgroup back in early October. My STBXW is now moved out and I have my boys 50% of the time. I find myself having more bad days than good days. I'm still struggling and just cannot understand why my ex would throw away everything we built together. She claims she's not pursuing the AP, which I think is BS, but I'm trying hard to not even care. I'm just so upset about my boys now being in a broken family. My 4-year-old has been acting up and the separation is clearly hurting him. STBXW just doesn't seem to care. I don't get it. I'm content with the settlement proposal, which goes in front of a judge in March. I can at least say I'm financially okay, but mentally and emotionally, It's been a real struggle. I've talked with family, I work out a lot, pray, meditate, etc. I just don't know how to get myself out of this depression. I have a great job and I'm physically healthy. I just can't shake the mental and emotional sickness. Any help is appreciated. Story 3. Wife is divorcing me for her AP. My wife is divorcing me for her affair partner. She cheated on me with him while on a work trip 2 weeks ago. Even before the trip, I was concerned about her going on it since she's been acting very odd. She told me I had nothing to worry about, of course. Before her trip, she told me she was depressed but said I don't know when I asked her what she was depressed about. I pressed her for weeks before the trip and she wouldn't tell me anything was wrong. Then the work trip happens. After confronting her, she didn't show nearly as much remorse as I would expect. She told me she needed time to think about us and what she wants. Big red flag. I told her I still wanted to work on the marriage for our kids. She told me there's nothing to work on in our marriage since she never loved me emotionally, ever doesn't find me attractive, and could not list any good memories we've had shared with each other in the 15 years we've been together. We started dating when she was 17 and have been married for 10 years. I asked her why she begged me to marry her in the first place, and she told me she didn't want to be lonely. Now she's monkey branching to the AP and telling me it's important I don't hate him. What? Of course, I'm not going to be okay with another man raising my children 50% of the time, let alone the AP. She told me to see a therapist. Where am I going wrong with this? I was cheated on, now being divorced for the AP, and was then told the last 15 years of our relationship had been a lie. The good news is my appetite is coming back and I'm starting to sleep better. I've always worked out, will certainly continue to do so, but I'm starting to eat healthier as well. Can anyone out there help me through this nightmare? Reader comment. Opus. I don't think I have heard such a deliberately cruel declaration said by a spouse ever. Although I would believe her decision, I would take the rest with a grain of salt. The thing is, you need to not take her poison and feel bad about yourself. This is on her. Work on yourself and in as much as possible go to NC except for kids. Don't let her take any more of yourself. Seek therapy, keep on course, and you will find happiness again, maybe more than you ever thought possible. Original poster. Thank you. I wish I was over-exaggerating my comments, but I'm not. Reader comment. I suggest you read this internet article, The 4 M's of Infidelity, Why Cheaters Cannot Leave Their Affair Partners. It will ring more than a few bells for you. Edit. Insist that you use a court-approved co-parenting apps for all future communication regarding the children. They work and are really good at preserving boundaries with an ex while co-parenting. Typical WW rewriting Marshall history to fit a narrative and justify her lack of morals. If you haven't done so, expose her to all family and friends. Have your lawyer draft a clause in your divorce outlining a frame for introducing AP or OM to your children. Go NC and get a parenting app. Best of luck.